Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I am your host, Samuel. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire country. And it doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing to diagnostic lab, you name it. You will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 5% performer within your role in sales, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, and today we have with us another special guest, and he goes by the name of Alex Matthews. Now, Alex is a sales rep in the cardiovascular space in medical device sales. If that is a field you've ever thought about or wanted to know more about or want to be in, then this is an episode you absolutely have to listen to. We get into the career track, how he does it, a day in the life, how he makes it work with his social life, what you can earn in this space, what you actually do in this space, who you call on, and how to be successful. We tackle it all. As always, we do our best to bring you innovative guests that are doing amazing things in the medical sales space, and I really do hope you enjoy this interview. Hey, Alex, how are we doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Life is good, no complaints. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yes. So my name is Alex Matthews. I am in Birmingham, Alabama. For the last 3 years, I've been a cardiovascular sales specialist with a company called Artivion, formerly known as CryoLife. We did a big old rebrand. And so I've been in medical device for about 6 years, starting in 2017. And for the last 3, like I said, in the cardiovascular space specifically.
Fantastic. So tell us about this space. What exactly are you doing? Walk us through a day in the life of Alex Matthews.
Sure. So, like I said, cardiovascular is our bread and butter. My call points are going to be cardiac and vascular surgeons. Of course, you can kind of get in the weeds and start talking to cardiologists and interventional cardiologists and anyone who's involved in what we call the heart valve team. And what I'm doing is, we provide mechanical heart valves for aortic and mitral valve replacements. And we also have some auxiliary products that help with repairs in the mitral position, as well as surgical sealants and glues, patches, anything to do with cardiac and vascular surgery, open surgery specifically. I foresee us getting into the endovascular side of things, like stent grafts down the road. We actually have made some acquisitions, but right now, we're in the open heart space and open vascular surgery space. And so day in the life, very similar to a lot of OR sales roles. I'd say most of my time is right now is spent selling. We're always selling, right? Even if you're covering a case, you're building that relationship and becoming a consultant, both clinical and a business consultant for these hospitals and for your surgeons. But if I'm not in a case, today I was hitting the road trying to get in front of doctors that either are using our products or I'm trying to get them to use our products and communicate that value to their practice and to the patients that they're seeing.
So talk to us about that. What does that look like? Is that you,
Sure.
Are you forging those relationships when you have a case and you maybe set up appointments to come back to sell, or are you just kind of walking in there cold call? Tell us a little bit how that looks. What's the scene like?
It's a great question. It's unique with every facility and with every surgeon.
Sure.
I have several accounts that, I can walk in there and I might have products on the shelf and I can do my inventory and strike up a conversation with a surgeon as he's walking out of the case and he's familiar with me. And then there's some surgeons that prefer to be approached in their office and they kind of want to go through a structured path where, I set up a lunch, I bring in food, I do, kind of the old school classic way of getting in front of a doctor. Of course, in this day and age, especially after, the whole pandemic thing, access into facilities in general, let alone surgeons, has gotten more difficult. And so you kind of have to get creative. And so, the surgeons that I am closest with, of course, you can shoot them a text and say, hey, I'm coming by, would love to see you. And, they'll respond. And yeah, of course, I like to do it in a way where you're not stalking them. You're not stalking these surgeons. Nobody likes that. Like, think about if somebody, you see him down, like if someone sees me down the hallway and turns and runs the other way, right? That's not what I want. So, I really try to position myself as a consultant, relational, without trying to be their best friend. A lot of our clients aren't trying to make friends. They're doing a job, and
Sure.
my job is to really understand what they need out of me, whether that's case support or, just finding a solution for a problem that they've had with different parts of their surgical practice. And even just being in eyes and ears in the community and referral patterns and different things like that. However I can provide value, it's fun because you're kind of like a detective. You're figuring out what these people need and then also providing a solution for them.
That is fantastic. What do the hours of work look like for you? Is it all the time,
Sure.
weekends and nights? Is it strictly 8 to 5? Talk to us.
Yeah. So it's the structural heart space. I'll say I've worked one Saturday in 3 years. So I don't have like a necessarily a call schedule. Our products specifically at Artivion are kind of geared towards, we'll be in the OR as much as they need us. And I want to be there as much as I can. Like I said, to build those relationships and know what's going on and, in those cases. But there's plenty of accounts that I have that are so self-sufficient that I don't even know when they're using the product. They don't have to call me. They're trained well and they know what they're doing. And especially in the valve space, some of the other stuff like AAA stent grafts and, the aneurysm stuff, Gore and Terumo and Medtronic, some of these other reps where they're on call, right?
Right.
But we're not selling those types of products. So it is different, but you're still always on, right? If somebody texts me at 8:00 at night and they don't have a product and I got to get there and, the cases in the morning, the good thing is most of these cases are scheduled. So I would call it, it's pretty traditional hours. Of course, in medical device, you start your day a little bit earlier.
Sure.
Just because people are in the hospital at 6 a.m. But, most of your surgeons are out of there by 3. And nobody really wants to be approached by a salesperson at 3:00.
Really? Nobody wants to be approached by a salesperson at the end of
especially
the day when they go home. Really?
After they've done several surgeries, and of course they want to see you. So that's why, it's Friday at almost 4 now. And, my day is over for Friday. I got my work in this morning and I'm able to do something like this.
That is fantastic. Okay. Talk to us a little bit about, so what, I'm sure you've been in medical device sales for a while. So I'm sure you've seen some amazing things in the operating room.
Sure.
But if you can share with us, a time in this space where you were just like, wow, I am here. I am witnessing this. Wow. The privilege.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. So like I said, I came from interventional spine at Stryker, which, it was a very hands-on role. There was many times I was in pretty much every one of those cases. And then the surgeons or physicians would turn and look at me and be like, hey, what's next? And I was anticipating like cardiac surgery is going to be that times 1,000, because I had no experience in cardiac. And I remember walking into my first case and everybody has a different vibe in the operating room. But I was in this case and it was like they had done this a million times because they have. Mm-hmm. And, they got music playing, people are chatting, and that's not the environment in every OR. It's really, at the discretion of the surgeon and the team. Sure. But I was like, man, like this is just normal for them. Mm-hmm. This is what they do. They're professionals. This is their craft. Mm-hmm. And, I'm over there sweating bullets and, I might get a couple questions during a case, depending on what's going on. Sure. But they're running the show and I get to be there to support however I can, which is really fun. But yeah, when you stand at the head of the table and you're looking over and somebody's got their chest open, you're like, this is somebody's dad, mom, brother, sister, whoever. And, it is intense, it is a very big deal. And, this is probably one of the biggest moments of that patient's life. So to be in that room, and to continue to be able to do that and occasionally get to interact with a patient or a patient's family. It's rare, but sometimes, I've had a couple opportunities just because the heart valve space, the patient is so involved in their decision for what kind of product that they get that sometimes the rep gets to be involved. Like I said, more rare, but that's been really fun to kind of hear.
I can imagine.
I had one patient reach out that actually reached out to the company and then connected me. It was the wife of a patient, and she was like asking, which surgeons implanted our specific valve. They had done their research, and I got to attend the case, and then afterwards, they were pumped because everything went well.
Mhm.
And like 3 months later, she texted me and said something like, I'm back to dancing with my husband. Like we're having fun together. Like we're so excited. So yeah, that was something brand new that I had never really experienced.
Yeah.
And like I said, it doesn't happen all the time. But those are the kind of things that I really hold on to because you're helping someone with those products that you get to provide.
So do experiences like that, and you said they're rare. How often would you say you have an experience like that?
Well, it's something where I get to hear from a patient. Like I said, that's probably the only one in 3 years.
Okay.
But that's why it was so big. But in terms of being able to interact and understand the conversation of how a surgeon is presenting these choices to their patients, you're really involved in it and that process. You might not be the face to face, but you have an element like how well are you educating the staff and surgeons on your product? Do they know how to communicate that value to their patients?
Yeah.
And so you're kind of in the background a little bit, which I really enjoy. But you're, empowering these people that have really, really important jobs to do their job well. And that's what kind of gets me out of bed in the morning is, man, there's somebody out there that needs what I have. And how do I make sure it gets to them?
It's a beautiful driver. So, you talked about how being in a room, patient's chest is open. Wow. You're there and you've been potentially one of the biggest moments of their life. As experiences like that made you see your life any differently?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Yes, for sure.
Please,
It's
talk to us about that.
Yeah. Honestly, it's made me slow down. When we were talking earlier, my wife and I are about to have our first son.
Congrats again.
And thank you. Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the day to day. Like, oh man, they didn't use my product today. They didn't, or we're having a real tough negotiation with this hospital. I don't know how it's going to turn out. And you just get caught up in the details, right? The business details. But then when you see a patient get rolled in and, a couple hours later, they're on pump, right? Their heart has stopped and the family, the family's sitting out there somewhere and you're like, this is next level, like there are more important things than those sales numbers, right? And that doesn't mean you don't stop working. And there's a reason behind it. It just gives more of a reason behind kind of why we do what we do. And so that's made me slow down. And now, of course, with my wife and I adding our son, I'm just thinking about like, man, that's just crazy to think about if I had to send a family member into surgery and not know what's happening. I feel very privileged to be able to have that peek behind the curtain of what it's like in the operating room, what it's like in healthcare, because it does give me, if we are in that situation or when my wife gives birth, I kind of understand how things work in the healthcare system and the types of providers that are really, really working hard to provide the highest standard of care for patients.
That is awesome. On that note, I always ask about family, and it sounds like we now have yours. You're expecting a new member, and with you,
that's right.
With this career track, specifically the cardiovascular space, how easy or difficult is it to manage a family and
Sure.
be at your best?
Right. So it's been a challenge. I'd say specifically in my role, I can't speak for every role, but when I made the move, it was, I took on a larger level of business. There's a little bit more travel. My manager has been wonderful in designing the territories where you can get everywhere within a day. You don't have to stay overnight necessarily, but time management has become very crucial. The specific space that I'm in, kind of on the structural side, I think it's a great career for someone that wants a family. The income is at a level where you can, provide for your family. And the hours are where, you're going to work hard, right? But there's a chance, you do get the chance to turn it off every once in a while and go on a vacation or, just get off early on a Friday. The beauty of medical device in general is if you're working hard and, working towards the goals that you've set for yourself and what the company has set for you, and you're doing it in an efficient manner, you kind of are the CEO of your own territory. And that I love kind of that responsibility, authority, and challenge that comes along with that, because you're not going to have somebody telling you what to do. But overall, I think it's a great career for someone that, wants to work hard, but also, has a desire to have a family or has hobbies outside of working and wants to be able to do those things.
That is awesome. What's the setup like? So what's your team look like? You are currently the sports writer specifically.
Yeah. So the title that our company gives us is a cardiovascular sales specialist.
Okay.
It's pretty much a sales representative.
Okay.
And our team structure, we have 7 of us in the Southeast. I'm kind of in the central northern Birmingham or Alabama and Mississippi territory. We have, and then everybody else is kind of split up. We have like 3 in Florida, 1 in all of Georgia. We have a South Alabama, Florida Panhandle. We're all kind of spread out, but we don't have, at this point, we don't have any clinical specialists that are like helping us.
Okay.
So it's the sales rep is the clinical and sales support.
You do it all.
So it's kind of fun. Yeah. Like I said, you get to kind of run the show.
Yeah.
And of course our manager is, he empowers us well, gives us the tools we need to go out there. And we have great, backing from our company, marketing and sales support as well.
That's awesome. Okay. Now with this role, what would you say are the top 3 for people that let's take it from this perspective? You're either in a different space and you want to enter this one, or you're new to the industry and you want to be in your space. What are the top 3 things you would say anyone entertaining the space absolutely must be able to do?
That's a good question. So the first one I would say is you got to be able to motivate yourself. You're not going to have somebody telling you what to do. Like what I was saying, you're not going to have your tasks laid out for you. There's going to be a million options that you could choose from in a day. If you're not covering cases, which opportunity is the most important? You got to be able to prioritize, motivate yourself, figure it out. That would be the first thing is can you manage a territory? Can you manage that freedom well, in a way that's efficient where you're not just busy, you're actually effective? That is a huge driver for success. The second one is, can you just grind it out? Can you persevere? Can you work hard when no one's looking and when, sales are down or volumes are down? Right. Are you gonna shrink away, or are you gonna get creative? Go learn something new about a product. Go find a way to add value to a surgeon that you need to get after. Getting creative in a way that, advances your business when things get hard. That's something that I've kind of learned over time what that looks like. And it's different, in every company, every product that you're selling, every little specialty within medical device. And then the last one for me is, do you treat people right? And to me, there's a lot of content out there on sales, which is phenomenal. I love scrolling LinkedIn and reading, there's great people in software sales and medical device and I mean, all kinds of different industries that have great content, sales content, that I've received from and it's helped me grow a lot. But the 2 main things for me is, do you work hard and are you treating people right? And that's kind of like my sales philosophy. At the end of the day, can you do that? You'll find a way to succeed in sales. The rest, you can kind of nitpick your sales process and all your language as you go. But if you're going to play the long game, those are kind of the main ones.
I love it. That is fantastic. What is the income level someone can anticipate in this kind of space?
Sure. There's, as with every specialty, a pretty big range. I'd say cardiovascular is probably more lucrative than some other spaces just because of the nature of the products that you're selling. What I've seen, the range I see is anywhere from 150 to I've seen guys making 650, 700, just depending on the territory, the tenure. That sweet spot is probably the 180 to 250 range. That's probably the most common, kind of coming in. And usually these guys and girls that are getting hired into this space have a few years of experience. Sure. They've either in some type of B2B or some type of medical device. I've found that, specifically in cardiovascular sales, usually they had some kind of medical device background first, before kind of transitioning into this space, or they've been there forever. They got in early, a long time ago, and they've stuck it out and kind of rode the wave. But yeah, it's a great career. and people do really well for themselves. And, you know, I have a lot of friends that, you know, I call them like, man, how'd you get your territory that size?
What's the challenge? The break.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's your sentiment towards programs like ours, where we take professionals that they have all the right stuff, no experience, no sales experience, no medical experience, but we're having success getting them into even cardiovascular sales positions, medical sales positions. What's your take on what we do?
That's great. I mean, there's tools out there that people should take advantage of to learn and grow. And what I tell people is that the more you kind of dip your hand into these different things, like what you guys are doing, and even just like getting on YouTube and watching videos and just teaching yourself, at the very, very least, you get a story that you can tell a hiring manager. And that, to me, that's how you get hired is can you tell a story? And can you tell your story in a way that's attractive? Yeah. And so if you know, you got guys like you and your team pouring into these, you know, potential candidates, they're gleaning from these experiences and they're crafting their stories and they're preparing themselves not only for a sales career, right, but for the pinnacle moment of when they get that opportunity in front of somebody. And that's medical device is super competitive. So anything that you can do to refine your skills, interviewing skills, and your storytelling skills to be able to make it through the clutter of everyone that's applying, I'm all for it. So you guys are doing a great job and helping a lot of people.
Man, you couldn't have said it better. No, that's awesome. This has been fantastic, Alex. You have, you know, you've only been in the game for what? Less than 5 years, right? Less than
about 6 years.
Like 6 years. And, you know, I've talked to hundreds of professionals, from executives all the way down to sales reps, all the way down to clinical specialists, heck, even intake call people that are working for med tech companies. And I got to say, for being in the game 6 years, you sound like you've mastered a lot out in what you're doing. So keep up the amazing work. We love to hear it. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to have ourselves a lightning round. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's do it. So first question, you have less than 10 seconds to answer. What is the best book you have read in the last 6 months?
Oh man. You know, I've just read a book called Raising Giant Killers. And it's, you know, I'm a believer, a Christian, and I've been trying to learn how to be a dad, right? I got my first kid coming. So that's the first one I read. Of course, I'll probably have to read it again and again, but how to raise your child to go after their destiny.
That sounds fascinating. How was it?
It was great. It was challenging. You know, I mean, the read is easy. But it just makes you look at yourself. You know, how am I becoming more patient? How am I becoming more kind? How am I creating an atmosphere of peace in my home and in my life, in my work life, or with my coworkers? So it really, you know, Raising Giant Killers. And, you know, it spoke to me too, you know, and just as a man and as a person, and as a husband and future father, just, you know, how can I just continue to grow and learn?
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Next question. What is the best TV show or movie you've seen in the last 6 months?
Right now we're watching, my wife and I, we've been cruising through some, you know, Peacock shows and different streaming stuff. Brooklyn Nine-Nine has been pretty funny.
What is that?
It's a Andy Samberg show. It's about the 99th precinct and, you know, police precinct in Brooklyn. And it's funny. It's just a nice, feel good, funny show. And that's something that my wife and I like to do is, you know, if we want to just turn our brains off for 20 minutes, and just sit down and watch a show and laugh.
That's like what to do.
It's pretty funny. I do recommend it.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Best meal you've had in the last 6 months?
Oh man. My wife is an incredible cook. She made a salmon dish. It was like some kind of honey garlic salmon, and with roasted potatoes and this, I'm not the cook, clearly. I ingest the food. But it was just so good. Like,
you got to super. Is she willing to share the recipe?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. She's got recipe books. I'm like, she's always, if she's on Instagram or on social media, I'm like looking at her phone. I'm like, you just look at dog videos and recipes. This is awesome. And so she's always got new recipes and bringing some out. So I'm thankful. And, you know, I'm trying to step my game up. I can grill decently.
Right.
So we do like to do steaks.
All right.
Once in a while. That's my contribution.
All right.
But she has got the cooking thing mastered. So we had a salmon dish this week that was.
All right. So everybody, we're going to get that recipe and it's going to be in the show notes. So
there we go. Perfect.
We're going to figure it out. We're going to put it in the show notes. All right.
Love it.
And the last question, what's the best experience you've had in the last 6 months?
Best experience, man, that kind of going back to what we talked about, finding out I was going to be a dad was pretty awesome. It's been an experience, right? Just over time. I came home from the gym and my wife we have a 2.5-year-old lab, silver lab, and he had a new bandana on. She was like, "Hey, check out his bandana." And it said "Big Bro." And I was like, "Did we get another dog? What's happening?" And that, just kind of hit. So it's really brought a new, on top of the experiences that I get to, in work, just interacting with all kinds of amazing local healthcare, workers and just what they're doing. Yeah. And then also the team that I get to work with in my company, they're incredible people. And then, the community that we have, just friends and family, local, has made it just finding out I was going to be a father kind of amplified all of that and just opened my eyes to be like, hey, things are good. And, when things get hard, there's bigger things that are more important that matter more.
Amen to that. Look, Alex, you're an impressive young guy, man. Keep doing your thing. It was awesome having you on the show today, and we can't wait to see what you got for the rest of your career. So we'll be in touch.
Thanks so much, Sam. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And that was Alex Matthews. Fascinating stuff. If this is a field you've wanted to get into and you've been trying or you wish you could do it, or maybe it's just a far thought in your mind, let's make it a reality. Visit evolveyoursuccess.com and let us help you get into a position just like this, where you could have a story similar to his. A team of professionals diligently working to get you exactly where you want to be. Help you with that resume, the career portfolio, your LinkedIn profile, teach you what to say when you're talking to hiring managers, sales reps, and recruiters, get you in front of the right people, get your business presentations done, get your 30-60-90, everything you could ask for, from your letters of rec to how to negotiate your offer to making sure you knock it out of the park in every one of your interviews. We can help you do it, and you can live the dream that Alex gets to live every day. As always, we do our best to bring you innovative guests that are doing amazing things in the medical sales space. So make sure you tune in next week to another episode of the Medical Sales Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a couple programs that show you exactly how to break into the medical sales industry, become a top-performing medical sales professional, and also how to masterfully navigate your career to executive-level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews.